a passionate instigator and dynamic problem solver. Dr. Kevin Ross Emery, the host of the Dr. Kevin Radio Show, will be taking you outside the box, behind the curtain, and identifying the load of BS we are fed every day. And now, Dr. Kevin.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the Dr. Kevin Show here on OMTimes, where we're changing the world, wait for it, one Om at a time. Here on the Dr. Kevin Show this week, we have my once-a-month thrilling co-host, Lori Powers Otto, joining us, and we will also be having a guest this week. We don't always have a guest when we have Lori on. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. This is a do week, and we'll get to the guest in just a little bit. I'm going to have Lori come on and dazzle us with her wit and wisdom in just a moment. But before we do that, I would like everybody to just take a moment, get quiet and centered, and in whatever religious or spiritual belief system that you calls to you, I would like us to take a moment to sit quietly and send love and support and peace and hope and whatever crosses your mind to all of those victims in the Ukraine right now. I want us to use this powerful connection that we all know we have with spirit, the universe, the life force energy, and direct it for just a moment to these people that are being victimized as yet again a pawn in another political war sponsored by old white men. Some days we just don't know what we're going to do with them, even though I am one. So we're going to take a second. We're going to get quiet, and I'm going to ask everybody to send, and then I will bring Lori on. Father, Mother, God, at this time, we join our energies, our energetic hands together in prayer, in meditation, in song, in visual. And we ask a way forward to a more peaceful, calmer, more loving world. We put this vision out into the universe as a place for us to head. As a society, as a country, as a world, as a species, we know within all of us is the loving energy of a force divine. And we are at this time come together to touch that force divine and to put it at this time to all the people in the world who are suffering, all the people who are struggling. But in this moment, to specifically send our energies of love, light, and healing to the people in Ukraine at this time. So, Miss Lori,
Dr. Kevin.
Now that I went and did all that woo-woo stuff, you can talk. How are you, honey?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Dr. Kevin?
Well, good? You know, I'm stuck between. Let me see. Let's have a high of 69 degrees, and then 2 days later, let's get 9 inches. But besides that, I'm fine. You know, there's that little irritation with this lovely part of the country we call New England, and it's weather, whether we like it or not. But outside of that, I'm okay. I'm a little chilly walking in the woods tonight as we're doing this show, but, you know, that's just an extra layer. How are you?
I'm good. I am tired, though, because I made sure I got all my steps earlier in the day. So I didn't have to go walking in the cold. And I still got way more to do. But, hey, I wanted to thank you for taking that moment for Ukraine, as I have family and friends in that area, and I have friends who have family in Ukraine, and they're all terrified. So for them and for me, I thank you for that. And I do ask everyone to make sure you send your love and light to that situation. But, yeah, other than that, life is pretty good for me. I'm like you, going, what the heck with this crazy weather, but it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good. And, I kind of look at it as Mother Nature going, tease, 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 gotcha.
Yeah, definitely.
But, so, that being said, I do want to let people know before we introduce our guest, which I'm going to give Lori the honor to bring her out of the purgatory world of mute and join us. That's a good way to call her. Our guests on mute are in a kind of purgatory. What they don't know until the end of the show is whether they ended up in heaven or hell. I guess that is a good analogy, isn't it?
Wow.
Hey, one man's heaven is another man's hell. That's all I can say. But anyways, March 13th, I want to put out there that Lori and I are doing an event together. I think it's the 13th. Yeah, March? No. Now watch me be wrong. We will post it if you come to the Dr. Kevin show or if you follow me on my Dr. Kevin. But we're going to be doing a psychic message circle. We'll be being joined by Nancy Smith. And when is it?
18th.
18th, 13th. A 3 looks like an 8 if you slip with a pencil.
Right.
Or an
exactly.
8 looks like a 3. Yeah, see, that's what I have you on for. You've got a full-time job, keeping my addled brain focused. There we go. I'm glad somebody does it. So on the 18th of March, New Hampshire Metaphysical, NH Metaphysical, New Hampshire Metaphysical. You can come join us. Make sure you get your tickets because there are limited tickets for the Psychic Message Circle. And then in April, and I don't have those dates, but I'm sure Lori will show up with them before the end of the show because she's good like that and I'm horrible. We will be having another psychic fair, which tonight's guest will be joining us for. So as she enthralls you and educates you and excites you about life and love and all of these things that she does in the world, and you think, I'd like to talk to that woman, in April, you can come to the New Hampshire Metaphysical Psychic Fair, and you can talk to her. You have to pay, but that's okay. I guarantee you she'll be worth it. So on that note, would you like to introduce tonight's guest, Lori?
I sure would, but I'll let you know the date of that April fair is April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, according to my calendar.
Well, and I'm sure your calendar is right, and, tonight's guest may say, yes, that's what it is, and then you can both, hum underneath, under your breath, what a ding-a-ling to my ding-a-ling, for those of you who remember that song. And, I'm okay with that. So go ahead and introduce tonight's guest.
All right. Well, tonight we actually have, we always have good guests, but I'm very excited about this guest. She is, incredible at all the different things she does. She's a transformational life coach. She does energy and breath work, and she's a spiritual wedding officiant. And I can't wait to have her explain what that means to everybody because people are like, what? But anyway, Sonya Lyn is our guest tonight. And Sonya, hello, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited. But before you talk about all these great things you do, what in the world possessed you to do ultra marathons?
Well, I was depressed on the couch, divorced a toxic relationship, and anxiety led me to run in the woods. And it was so good for me, I just kept on going.
Awesome. Love that. Love that.
It's a short version.
Right. I get it. I actually have a friend that has done the same thing. Well, she wasn't divorced, but anxiety and depression were ruling her life, and she took running, and it was the best thing she's ever done.
Yes. Greatest adventure.
Yeah. And I just want to put out there that you can find out more about Sonya Lyn at sonyalyn.com. And that's Lyn with one N, SonyaLyn.com, because I know some people spell it with two. Or Living Unbroken, livingunbroken.com. So no China shop or bowls for this young lady. So there's a couple of places where you can find her. So Lori, you had an initial question when you were introducing her. So what is a spiritual wedding officiant? You want to start there?
So, sure. So a spiritual wedding officiant is, I love to officiate out in nature and really just break the cycle of broken homes, families, relationships, because ultimately we know, right, spirituality is the key to healing and to lasting, passionate, co-creative relationships. So I've created a masterclass for an 8-week marriage masterclass. So I'm passionate about supporting couples not only through their spiritual ceremony that captures who they are, but through their marriage as well to co-create a spiritual partnership, just to really understand who they are as individuals and as couples, and to break the cycle, to shorten it, of growing apart to growing together.
Excellent, excellent. That's very needed right now, I think. Well, always been, but yeah, I think that's wonderful. I love that.
So just allowing them to create their own values, really just, that's what the essence is they can create their own rules, and rules are meant to be broken, and we can create that ceremony to really just capture who they are and not who they were told to be.
Excellent. Excellent. Because a lot of people are... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so Sonya Lyn, so you said something about coming out of a toxic marriage. So how long have you been in this creative, I'm trying to think of the exact words I was here, I heard them, but this creative, loving partnership. So how long were you in the toxic, and now how long have you been in this one?
So I've been divorced, over 12 years, was in one for most of my adult life, 16 years or so. And the relationship started with myself. And now, right now, the healthy relationship is with myself. And when the universe says it's time to co-create and, make a difference and come together with shared visions to serve humanity, then I'll meet that person.
Excellent. I love that. I love that you're putting out there.
Yeah, whole will attract whole now.
Right, exactly. But you took the time to love yourself first.
Yes, and become whole and content.
Right. I've coached a lot of people, and that's the one part that they are resistant to, is learning to love themselves.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
So I'm all for people doing that. So is that what the Facebook page is? And I know you have the website Living Unbroken, but you also have the Facebook page Living Unbroken.
Yeah, and it's actually been rebranded, I think, since I sent that in. So it's Living Unbroken is the wedding and couples spiritual, practice and couples coaching site. And then the Living Unbroken actually just got rebranded for my private Facebook group to now it's Live on Purpose.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
Yeah. So
I like that.
There's a separate, working with people who are feeling, not whole for the Living Unbroken process. It's a healing and trauma-based personal development practice. And then there's the Live on Purpose on, who you are, what's your passion, what's your next purpose.
So can you tell the people listening why you pursued this avenue, why you changed it to Living on Purpose, and what growth you've gone through?
Sure. So the change, really focused on this energy we're putting out, right? Like as Dr. Kevin, you were both talking about, putting out into the universe. And the word broken is still in there. And really, I just feel like Live on Purpose says it all. It's just about being intentional with what you're doing, who you're with, just feeling fulfilled. And so just wanted to change that, maybe that level of consciousness with it. It just was kind of a download that came to me. And what was the question about my journey, or, sorry, what was that again?
Well, your growth through this process. I mean,
Sure.
You started in, so yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so just always evolving as we are, right? So through my process of just healing and valuing growth, shifting from the head, that painful journey from the head into the heart and soul, and just, coming to that place of wholeness and contentment where there's no lack and just this love and inner peace. And then really that shift of being in the intuition and the creativity, which is just very purposeful and intentional.
Nice. Very, very
you
nice.
just can't access that, right? When we're in the pain, we just can't access it and see those levels of consciousness. They're just not there. We can't see them.
Right. So having someone help guide you,
yes.
Is incredibly helpful. And I love that you don't do this just for couples, but you do this for teenagers. Oh, we're about to go to break.
Okay.
We'll be right back with Lori, myself, and Sonya Lyn here on the Dr. Kevin Show.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Coping-19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
If you're feeling increasingly lonely right now, you're not alone. It's totally normal. Even though we may not be able to get together in person, connecting virtually with friends and family still gives you a chance to interact with people and may help raise your spirits. Join a virtual book club, set up group text chats, or online video coffee breaks with coworkers.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Hello, and welcome back to the Dr. Kevin Show here on OMTimes. Remember, we are a live call-in show, so if you'd like to ask Lori, myself, or tonight's guest, Sonya Lyn, any questions, feel free to do so by calling 202-570-7057. That's 202-570-7057. And we would love to have you as part of the conversation. Tonight's guest, Sonya Lyn, she was just getting ready to start to talk about the supporting and leading teenagers and adults through transition and the work that she's done in that area. And she had mentioned in her last segment about an 8-week marriage masterclass So I'm going to ask you a question, Sonya Lyn, that I've been asked a variation of.
Okay.
So I don't know how much familiarity you have with my work, but I do a lot of work with kids and families. And I've never had children of my own, and certainly have done a little co-parenting here and there along the way, but certainly not done a full parent thing. And so sometimes people will say, you're teaching me how to do better parenting, but you've never been a parent. So explain to me how that works. I know what I answer and stuff like this, but I also know that for every person that asks it, there are those people who might think that and hesitate to work with me when I've been very successful at helping families stay together, grow, evolve, and to help kids, especially in one of my areas of specialty, which is ADD and ADHD.
Sure.
If someone comes and says, you're teaching me a marriage masterclass about how to have a perfectly loving, happy, growing relationship, but you're not in one and you haven't had one, what do you draw that off of? Why would they want to go? So I want you to tell our listeners, because I'd rather have you tell them than have them think it and then not reach out to you.
Sure. Well, relationships, what life is all about. And it's about having healthy relationships. Now, I'm able to see what relationships before I've, dove in and did the work, what they were. The relationship with myself, my children, my ex, and it takes responsibility. So relationships aren't 50-50, they're 100% each. So it's really about giving skills and tools in just self-leadership to be able to be, a healthy person all around in communication and leadership and in relationships, regardless of what that relationship is. So it's really about the relationship with self. So whether it's a marriage or, same sex or with a child, there's unhealthy and there's healthy. And it's really what comes to mind.
Lori, do you want to weigh in on any of that before I comment?
Well, I was just floating through this because, right, you always hear, well, you really don't know because you haven't done it, right? Which is what this comes down to, I think. But I think what you're saying is absolutely right. You don't have to always experience everything exactly the way someone else is to understand and to be able to help them, because what it all really comes down to is loving ourselves and, and taking responsibility for our lives. So
Right.
I think that's great that you do that. I think that it's, anybody who's in any kind of relationship should want to reach out to you.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, go ahead.
No, please finish what you were going to say.
Of just having that self-awareness, right, of being able to see the blind spots to be able to take that personal responsibility. What I'm able to say is, wow, as much as I was in a toxic relationship, what was it that I was doing that was attracting that, right? We learn from what doesn't work, and by owning our own part and going through that pain of, oh gosh, that was me, owning that own part, and then being able to I've had very healthy relationships, friendships, but just because not marriage, it's at this place of knowing exactly, and not coming from a place of need or, not, I don't want to say tolerating, but really having clarity on what it is, and, what is an ideal match for you. So that's just where, I'm at now. Has there been many opportunities? Yes, but I know in my heart what it is I'm looking for, someone that already has that self-love, right? Someone that knows who they are, what they want, that is awake in the world. And we're creators, right? We're always creating, and we're meant to create. So I know what a healthy spiritual relationship is and how that feels.
Excellent, excellent.
Great. Like I said, I have found that, because I've been at this for a long time. I'm in like my 32nd year of practice now. So I have a younger brother called Dirk. And I know that sometimes what can hamstring us as we're trying to go out and do our good work and try to bring light and love and illumination into the world is the questions people don't ask, which is why one of the things I try to do on the Dr. Kevin Show is ask the question that somebody, instead of asking, will make an assumption, which is then comfortable for them to live with because it gives them an excuse to say, no. So what do you say?
And I've had to work through that imposter syndrome, right?
So
I've had children.
I'm gonna share with you why I laugh, because I have forbid all my clients to say imposter syndrome because it's so overused and so misunderstood, and I'm like, oh, just can it? It's and I'm not saying that to you, but I have to laugh because we have these terms, and when you've been around forever, every 5 to 7 years, there's a new hot term, and then everybody wants to use it, and everybody wants to describe themselves or their problems with it. And I sit around, and I've just got old and grouchy, and I go, let's just go down to the basics, okay? Like, are you gonna do the work to become who you're here to be and end up loving yourself and being that person, or aren't you? All the rest of it is just bullshit. Either you do the work or you don't.
That's it.
So, yeah, so I just love these fancy terms. I'm not picking on you when you say that because I know that's a big term and people recognize it so they can kind of apply. But I go, oh, yeah, this week it's imposter syndrome. Last week it was something else. Next week it will be something different. See, this is why I have Lori on, because I get old and grouchy. But anyway.
I don't take things personal. Hey, you got to laugh.
Yeah, it's very interesting because I'm just finishing up. I'm coming close. Cross your fingers. I'm coming close to the end of some physical therapy that I needed. They're telling me I'm doing great. But my physical therapist they write these questions on the board that, they ask the people that come in while they're laying on the tables and getting worked over by masochists and calling it physical therapy. And he said, I think the question I want to ask is, how many times a year do you really belly laugh? He's like, I think that would be a great question. He said, how many times a year do you belly laugh, Dr. Kevin? And I said, I can't count that high.
Right.
And he got quiet, and I said, and you? And he said, if I do 3 times in a year, I'm lucky.
Wow.
And then one of the other physical therapists said, well, if you laugh too much, doesn't it then negate all of the positives of it? Like you can, and I was like, no, I mean, it oxygenates your blood, it clears out your lungs, and it releases happy chemicals in your brain for you to have a more optimistic outlook on life. And no, you really can't OD on any of those.
Yeah, it's the best medicine. And it shows how the familiar of being miserable and upset is more comfortable for people than feeling great.
And the funny thing is, when I left, he still hadn't written the question on the board. And I suspect when I go back, it's not going to be there. But anyways, when you said something about laughing, it made me think of that. I'm sorry, I digress. So what do you say when somebody says, when you're doing couples work? Because I also do couples work myself. I don't do a class. I know you have a whole course, a master class, which I encourage people who are in any stage of coupling to take. Because I tell people, if you're getting married, do it before you get married. If you've been married for a while and it starts to feel odd, do it again. I mean, you can't go back to the well of check-in and self-awareness too often if you want to keep your relationship healthy.
Right. Learn the skills and tools before you need them.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you say to people who say, we love each other, isn't that enough? Because you have to hear that. I hear people say that out there. What do you say to them?
I haven't heard that. I have had couples that are, oh my gosh, they value growth and they're so excited about it. And then I've had couples say, well, what's the price without it? We don't want that. And so then I ask them, a little bit about their upbringing. Like, what did they see? Why do they think they don't need it? What these skills and tools, I know I didn't learn growing up, how to, communicate, take responsibility, talk about control, insecurities. A lot of them are, uncomfortable standing up, speaking in public. So insecurities, control, criticism, those are all what gets in the way of relationship. So really just kind of ask some questions and just share the importance of, look at statistics. No one goes into it thinking the D word. I mean, no one does, but there's a reason why. Or I ask them to look, what is an ideal marriage or couple that you see? And many of them can't answer that. So that kind of leads to giving the foundation to build their house on rock, that they can withhold any, valleys that happen through life.
So, Lori, I know you've done couples work in the past. Have you ever had somebody ask you the question, like, well, I love him, or I love her, or we love each other. Isn't love enough? Have you heard any version of that question? And if so, how did you answer it?
I have, actually. And so I asked them then to tell me what they love about the other, right? And then that makes them go, oh, he's a good provider, or whatever. They'll give basic, generic answers, and I'll go, okay, what's his favorite color, or what's her favorite, flower? And the reason I do that is because it makes them realize that what they're settling for as love is not love. It's companionship. Because a lot of people get married and then they just stop trying.
Right.
Right? Because we're already married. And it goes to that love should be enough. No, you have to know yourself. You have to know each other. You have to grow together and have adventures. And I'm big on date night. I mean, I tell everybody, don't give up on date night, because you have to have your relationship be more than just responsibilities. Yeah, or kids, or parenting, or and I love what you said that, but, the levels of love, talking about that, there's selfish love, right? There's conditional love, there's unconditional love, but there's a lot more of just what love is. Right. Right. So, they have to recognize what kind of love they have for each other to realize if they're, in love, or they're just settling for expected. Yeah, or codependent, or need, or, for the wrong reasons, like the intention. I always ask them, what's the intention behind the marriage? Because relationships don't fail because of, like I said, the love. They fail because of the intention behind getting married in a relationship. Right. So what's the why? Yeah. Exactly. And complacency. I love this story. The Dear Abby story, this woman madly in love with this man but didn't want to give him children because she was afraid the kids would be ugly like him. This is what she wrote in a national newspaper, right? And Dear Abby's like, you don't love that man. Let him marry someone who actually loves him. Wow. Right? That woman's like, no, I love him. No, you were convenient with him. He was probably a good provider or whatever, but clearly you didn't love him. Yeah. Right? Well, and I agree with Kevin. People need to take your marriage class before they get married. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to, because you guys are too nice. I always go, no, love's not enough. Why do you ask? Now, I want each of you to define love. But I always start with nope, love's not enough. Let's get rid of that fairy tale. That's a head in the cloud idea of somebody that is trying to create a fantasy fairy tale idea of love that avoids doing the real work, looking in the mirror, taking a hard look in the mirror, and doing the work on themselves. So, yep.
Yeah.
Answer is no.
Yeah, because they're going to be the mirror,
Next
right?
question.
They're going to be the mirror.
Yep.
And I ask one thing, I say,
Go ahead.
Sorry, Kevin.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I ask, before I officiate, is there something that you're looking to change about the other person? Because if so, I'm not the officiant, because you will never change anything. You can, you got to do the work together for yourself, but you will never fix or change anything about the other person.
Yeah, I'll tell people, if you can't love them exactly as they are now and picture you spending your whole rest of your life with this person as they are now, don't do it. But
yeah, don't marry into an illusion or vision of what's not there.
No. But I congratulate you on being willing to turn them away, because I will turn people away. I fire clients. I won't marry people if I don't think that if I don't feel good about it. I say I'm the wrong person, but I congratulate you, because a lot of people won't do that. That's our break sound. We're going to come back and have our last segment of the Dr. Kevin Show with Sonya Lyn, Lori, and myself.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Vox Novus, the new voice. Vox Novus, the new dimension. Vox Novus, thought and movement leaders who will share from their experience and offer tools to help us navigate our rapidly changing world. My name is Victor Furman. Join me every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio for Vox Novus, the new voice.
If I could be you,
and you could be me, for just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Well, welcome back to the last segment of the Dr. Kevin Show tonight. I'm Lori Powers-Otto, as you know, here with Dr. Kevin, our wonderful host, and our guest, Sonya Lyn. We've been having a great conversation. We're talking about all the amazing work Sonya does and the importance of loving yourself to be in any relationship. So, Sonya, welcome back.
Thank you.
So, Sonya, well, you had asked a question, and I hijacked it in the last segment, so I'm going to pony it back to Miss Lori's question talk about the teenager work you did. What brought you to do teenage work? What's the format you work with teenagers? And when would somebody want to kind of knock on your door and dump their teenagers off at your doorstep?
Sure. So, raising 3 teenagers and being I was a youth group counselor for a local teen youth group in town, and absolutely loved it. So it's one of my favorite ages. Easy to say now that they're out of the teenagers. But really just, I have a heart for teenagers and the transition, challenges that they go through when they don't feel heard and understood, and knowing when I was just going through my difficult times, knowing that, my stress, my anxiety, I wasn't my best self for my teens. And knowing there's a lot of teens out there that, have that same experience. And I really just love it meets them right where they're at. So it's a teen coaching development system that the language is based for them. And it really teaches them the self-leadership on how to lead themselves. Again, what's not taught in schools and in many upbringings. So when parents come to me, it's typically what I hear them say is, we've tried talk therapy, it didn't work. I just want my loving teenager back. I don't know what happened to them. So those are a couple things that I've heard from parents. And then afterwards, it's, thank you so much. I got my loving teenager back. Or, some were pretty severe, even life-threatening situations. And just, seeing them thrive after that and being able to handle and have the tools for adversity to lead themselves is just really fulfilling.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. It is tough with teens.
Go ahead, Lori.
Oh, no, you go ahead, Dr. Kevin.
So, how do you handle it? Because, like you, I have dealt with teenagers, and a lot of times I'm dealing with ADD, ADHD teenagers because I have several books out on ADD and ADHD. What happens when you realize, if you realize that you're in a situation where the real problem for the teenager is the parents?
Well, a lot of the times that's the case, right? They're a product of and do as they see, not as they're told. So I have email communication. There's a course of, depending if they're under 18 or over 18, and, we have that agreement on, if it's concern for their life, reaching out to them versus, what's private. But they have the skills to be able to set some boundaries or to be able to feel safe to communicate. And sometimes the parents come in and we can include them in, or I include them in. Other times I'm just working with them separate sometimes and bring them in. So in the package it can be, or, just support them through the different communications, what is in their control, or I may now email the parents and be able to coach them through some of the things as well, depending on, of course, where the parents are at. There's just so many variables. Yeah. I don't know if that answers it enough. I'm not sure how long to spend on that.
Well, I'm going to turn it to Lori because I know Lori has worked with teenagers before in her practice. What do you do, Lori, when the problem is actually more the parents than the teenagers?
Well, what I've done in the past, and I've been very successful with, and some people are going to go, huh? Is I send the child out of the room, set the parent down, and went, you're the problem. There's no, because you can't sugarcoat it. But you have to then come with a plan of action. You can't just throw them under the bus, right? And I've been very successful with that because when you say that to a parent, they look at you and go, oh my God, right? And it's not to make them feel guilty or to make them feel bad. It's to wake them up and make them aware.
Yeah. Yeah, I have just to add on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Add on. Go ahead.
I was just going to add that, where you said just to see the assessments that I've sent over and that, teens as well as, parents have, it's this energy leadership assessment where it's exactly that. Like you're telling them, but then there's this mirror image and this visual of, oh, you can't deny that, okay, that's the problem because it's showing, where their blind spots are. And I had a parent that was just like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. But when they were able to see that visually, it was really powerful for them to be able to make that change. And you're going to have some that are going to. I've had parents that won't accept it, won't take any responsibility, and some that do, right?
So is this leadership handout something that you created? Is it something that comes out of something that you studied or you worked? I'm curious when you say you have this leadership thing.
Sure. This energy leadership assessment, I purchased it. So it's a report that is part of my development programs. And some people just hire me and we just do that. So we just do a 1-hour debrief on it. So it's through a coaching company that was designed, and it just shows the levels of consciousness, your strengths, your blind spots. So it's an attitudinal assessment, and it's just really, really powerful. So yeah, I just go through them with it so they can see how much energy they have and their stress reaction versus their best self, and then how other people, it's a mirror image on how other people are seeing them.
Interesting. Yeah. I've not heard of that. Have you heard of that, Lori? Are you familiar with that, what she's talking about? Lori, did we lose you?
Yep. Here I am. Sorry. Yep.
Yep.
Accidentally hit the button. Hit the mute button by accident. I have not heard of that thing, that specific document, but I have heard of similar exercises. So, I think it's a good tool to have.
Yeah, sounds like a great tool. If I'm going to work with the family, I always make the parents agree up front that all problems are co-created, and if they want their children to take responsibility for their side of the problem, the parent has to be willing to take their side of the problem, or I'm not going to work with them. So I make them agree up front. I'm like, I am going to beat you up on something, so deal with it or don't work with me. Sonya Lyn says, how did you ever stay in practice so long? No.
No. Yeah. A lot of them are like, young adults, 23 that I'm working with, where that it's really just, the parent isn't involved. But yeah, when there's the younger ones that the teens are involved, like I said, it depends. But I've had a lot of different situations. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to completely switch gear a bit because I want to give you a chance, you're going to be part of our New Hampshire metaphysical community, and we love having you.
Yes.
And you're going to be in our April Psychic Fair.
And Lori, yes, I confirmed 1, 2, 3, April 1st, 2nd, 3rd.
There we go. See, I only look as good as the people who make me not look bad.
I had to look it up.
When you explain, so I'd like you to take a moment and explain to the audience that if they come to that psychic fair, what are the services you're going to be offering? Because people, we all offer 1,000 services, but we don't offer 1,000 services at the fair. The fair is a very specific where you choose your times, you choose exactly what you want to offer, but can you share with Lori and I what you'll be offering at the April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd? See, I do listen. But April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, New Hampshire Metaphysical Psychic Fair?
Of course. So I'm excited to offer breakthrough breathwork sessions. So little mini breath work that is just really profound for teenagers or couples or individuals, and just clearing, what is stuck for really fast results, as well as a metaphysical anatomy technique. I'd like to offer that, and that is metaphysical anatomy technique really gets to the heart of the matter, where you don't have to go into the story with something's going on. We're just really looking for the physical connection to the emotion and working through that in a gentle way. So those are a couple, might be adding one, but that's what comes to mind that I'm really excited about offering.
Well, that sounds exciting. And you're able to do all of that either via phone or Zoom, correct?
Correct, yes.
Because this is a remote psychic fair, and I know that we have people that call in and get sessions from all over the world, because I've traveled several times throughout Europe and all over this country. And so I know we have people that get notified and decide they're going to call from the UK or France or Switzerland and check out something different that they've never done before. So we're excited to have you do this, expand our offering. And I'll be looking forward to talking to you after to share your experience of how it went for you. Lori.
Great.
You want to put in a quick bit about because you're going to be there. What are you going to be offering, honey?
I'm going to be doing my intuitive aura readings, and I'm also offering distant Reiki.
Okay, great. Nice. And as always, I'm just doing everything psychic, which basically means I get quiet, I see what Spirit wants you to know, and I tell you whether you want to hear it or not. It could be medical intuitive, it could be mediumship, it could be past life. It's whatever Spirit thinks is most important for you. That's how I do it. That's how I've been doing it since the 70s. Sonya Lyn, any upcoming classes that you're teaching?
I have an upcoming breathwork class. I have every month the first Sunday, which is all done through Zoom, community online breathwork class. So that is March 6th at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So SonyaLyn.com/breathwork would lead to the link to join into that class. SonyaLyn.com/breathwork, or I'm sure if you go to SonyaLyn.com and you just peruse her whole website, you'll find the link. So instead of just going right to the link for breathwork, go check her out. Go see all the stuff she has to offer. Go see all the places where she tells you how wonderful she is. Or she better be, because that's what a website's for. So my website's for. Is that what your website's for there, Lori? It's
Lori,
a second date.
Do you have any last questions or thoughts or things that you would like to put forth to Sonya Lyn? Because I know that any minute now we're going to be getting our close out music, and once it starts, we're out of luck.
I don't have any questions. I just want to thank you, Sonya Lyn, for coming on and talking to us and sharing this wonderful work that you do and letting us get to know you. I look forward to having many more conversations with you and getting to know you more in the upcoming, months. And,
yes, thank you so much.
So, to our listeners, this Sunday night, 5 to 7:30, I am doing Spiritual Stew, Sunday Spiritual Stew, which we do the second and fourth Sunday of every month through New Hampshire Metaphysical. You can find us through NewHampshireMetaphysical.com. You can find the classes. You can find it through also through our meetup group. Come join our meetup group, NewHampshireMetaphysical.com. But we'll be doing Spiritual Stew with Eileen Boyle, and she's gonna be talking about the importance of failing. And I don't know if Sonya Lyn has created a time, but Sonya Lyn, you're always welcome to come also do a Spiritual Stew with us through New Hampshire Metaphysical. We'd love to have you.
I'd love to.
And Lori, you've just reach out to to Miss Mindy, our goddess of everything. And,
she's great.
And Lori, we got you on the schedule for a spiritual stew yet?
I'm not in concrete yet. I had talked to Mindy, but I hadn't sent her my stuff. I think we're looking at sometime in April, and I'm going to be talking about auras and playing with auras and using them as a life skill.
Great. Sonya Lyn, thank you for joining us on the Dr. Kevin Show. It's been delightful, and I look forward for many more crossings of our paths in the future.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
Lori, as always, love you, honey. Let's get together soon. I see a double martini lunch in our future.
Sounds good to me. Let's go.
Love and light.
Bye.
Bye.